All right, hey, good morning, guys. This is Jay Hughes. Hey, I have a couple things I want to share this morning. Um, I'll jump right to it. My grandfather, his name was Don Johnson. He passed away this weekend. Passed away actually yesterday. He was 103 years old, and this was a guy that was very much a father figure to me. I was close with my dad, but both my dad and my mom had multiple marriages and divorces, and so my grandfather, my mother's dad, who I called Big Don, was just a massive influence on my life, and he has been my entire life like the guy that I've looked up to, and tried to model certain characteristics in my life after him. And so it's hard this morning. Like I was like, wasn't sure how I was gonna feel today, and I feel mixed emotions about it. Wasn't sure how I was gonna be able to what kind of work things I'd be able to get done. Would it be appropriate to even talk about this in a video? And as I've been praying about this morning, I'm like, yeah, I think it is, because I think it's appropriate for me to try to honor him, at least in some small part, in some of the ways that I looked up to him, and share those with you, those characteristics with you, because his life, what he built his life on, very much guided the way he lived in a daily, practical, hour by hour way. And so I wanted to share a little bit about what that is, what those things were, and hopefully that might impact you in such a way. I'm sure you have people in your own life that you look up to, and you're trying to model some of your actions and motivations and model your life after. And so hopefully this will remind you of some of that and be an encouragement to you, and maybe kind of be an exhortation to you, to me, to ask God for help in living in accordance with those types of things. So one thing that stands out with Big Don in my life was, this is a guy who lived to serve and to serve others. And I don't say that lightly. I don't know of another person that's in my life that even comes close to matching the way he served and impacted other people. This is a guy he's part of the greatest generation. He he grew up and ended up in World War II, and he served in World War II, which that by itself is a giant statement, and lots of stories to go on with that. One of which was he was injured in combat, was taken out, and spent a couple months in Europe recuperating. When he returned back to his company of over 150 soldiers, all of his friends, everyone that was in his company, had died while he was gone. They had died in combat. So he literally came back to a group of guys. They were all new guys, because all of his friends had died in combat, and he continued to serve. And man, like, that's just always been such an impactful thing for me, the level of perseverance that he had to do what he had to do, to literally dig in and to fight and to defend the cause of freedom in our country, and to serve in that way so that you and I and others could experience the freedoms that we have in this country. So something that's always been super important to me. He was a giver, he was a server, and a couple other ways that he did that. I mean, when he came home from the war, he was like a rancher for a while, and then he became a high school teacher, served kids, impacted kids in that way. My grandmother, his wife, who they were married for over 50 years, got into real estate later in her life, spent her 50s and 60s selling real estate. And my Big Don, like, he helped her with that. Like, he got into real estate, but really just as a way to serve his wife and to help her, and to help her help other people in this little small town And that was just one of the ways that he impacted others. Another way, which to me really defined much of his life of serving in retirement, he spent over 20 years. He developed a relationship with a supermarket manager in the little town that he lived in, and of course, at all supermarkets, there's produce goes bad, and so when that goes bad, they don't sell it anymore, and they throw it out. And so my grandfather developed this relationship with this store manager at this grocery store and said, hey, like, could I come and pick that up 2-3 times a week? And he said, I want to distribute this to people that need it, and to help them in that way. And so my grandfather did that for forever. And so he'd get in his 1973 GMC Ford pickup, and he'd go down to this grocery store 3 times a week, load up the back of his truck with produce, and then drive around town, and he'd drop it off at our house and other folks around the valley that he knew needed help. And that was just, he did that. He didn't charge anything, did it all out of his own pocket. And man, that just had a huge impact on me, that this is a guy that would get up at 4:30 every morning, retired, and just look for ways to serve other people. Just unbelievable. And so I wanted to share that story with you, because it's kind of it's really two characteristics that he had. He had many others, but it was this attribute of selfless giving that defined his life, and then combined that with this just incredible work ethic. And there just was no way to outwork this guy. Like I said, he was up 4:30 a.m. This is a guy that he cut all his own firewood. At any given time on his property, he'd have 20-25 cord of wood sitting there that he had put all that together himself. And you just could not outwork that guy. And but at the same time, it wasn't a hard work in order to just accumulate wealth for himself. It was hard work in the name of service to others. And man, obviously that's just had a giant impact on the trajectory of my life. And so this morning I just wanted to share that with you. And as you're thinking about your week this week, and all the things that are on your to-do list, and all the problems that you're trying to figure out, how am I going to accomplish this? How am I going to overcome this obstacle? How am I going to take advantage of this opportunity before me? Boy, I would just encourage you to take a moment, and maybe even as I'm doing this morning, like, pray and ask God to help you to have eyes to see the people out there in the world that you can serve and impact, and then marry that concept together with just an incredible work ethic, like a desire to outwork anyone and everyone, certainly all of your competition, in the name of serving others. And you take those two things that were so obvious in my grandfather's life, this giving, serving, loving spirit that he had, marry that together with this hard work, and a work ethic that is just unmatched, and you can't help but be successful. So I pray that would be helpful for you today. And I know for me, my grandfather's life is going to have a massive impact on the continuation of my life, and I just hope to be able to impart some of that, a little bit of that on you, and certainly all of that as best I can on my own kids. So anyway, I hope you have a great week this week. I hope that you're able to embrace the challenges that you have, meet it with a bunch of hard work, but really do that in the name of trying to serve and love other people. All right, guys. Hey, have a great day. Bye-bye.